Picture this. You just finished dinner. The dishes are done, the house is quiet, and you decide to take a short walk around the block. Nothing dramatic. No gym bag, no playlist queued up, no fitness goals in mind. Just you, the evening air, and a few minutes of movement before you settle in for the night. From the outside, it looks completely ordinary. From the inside, something is happening that most people will never understand. Something your doctor probably hasn't explained. Something that completely flips the way you think about fat loss, effort, and what your body is actually doing when you move. What if that simple, forgettable walk was the most powerful thing you did all day? Not because of calories, not because of steps, but because of a quiet decision your body makes when the conditions are finally right. Most people have been taught to think about fat loss as a math problem. Burn more than you eat, push harder, sweat more, feel the burn, and if you're not exhausted at the end, it probably didn't count. That belief is so deeply wired into us that a gentle evening stroll feels almost pointless. You don't feel your heart pounding, you're not gasping for air, your legs aren't burning. It feels too easy to matter. So people dismiss it. They assume that unless the effort feels significant, the results will be insignificant. But here's the thing that changes everything when you finally understand it. Belly fat doesn't respond to force the way muscle does. It doesn't care how hard you pushed. It responds to something far more specific, far more internal, and far more fascinating than intensity alone. Here's a question that sounds strange, but stay with it. If you could pause time right now and look inside your own abdomen while you were on that evening walk, what would your belly fat look like? Would it look relaxed, open, cooperative, or would it look tense, guarded, locked down, protecting itself like a fortress that hasn't received the signal to stand down? Most people have never thought about fat this way. They think of it as a passive lump of stored energy, just sitting there waiting to be burned off through enough effort. But belly fat, particularly the kind that wraps around your organs deep in your abdomen, is not passive at all. It is active tissue. It listens. It reads signals from your nervous system, your hormones, your blood sugar, your stress levels, and based on what it hears, it either holds on tighter or begins to let go. That single idea is worth reading again slowly because it reframes everything. Belly fat is not stubborn by nature. It is obedient by design. It follows instructions, and those instructions don't come from how long you ran on a treadmill or how many calories your fitness tracker says you burned. They come from a system much deeper inside you, a system that is constantly assessing whether your environment feels safe or threatening, stable or chaotic, demanding or manageable. When that system is calm, belly fat gets the message that energy can be released. When that system is stressed, flooded with cortisol, spiked with unstable blood sugar, or living in a constant state of alert, belly fat gets a very different message. It gets the message that this is not the time to let go. Protection comes first, and so it stays. This is the conversation happening inside your body every single day, and most people have no idea it's going on. The real decision makers are not your abs or your fat cells themselves. The real decision makers are your nervous system and your hormones, working together like a control center that never sleeps, constantly evaluating incoming signals and deciding how to allocate your body's resources. Think of it like a city's traffic system. Your heart is the pump pushing everything forward. Your blood vessels are the roads that carry the flow. Your nervous system and hormones are the traffic controllers, deciding whether to open the roads or close them, whether to let energy move freely or lock it down. When the roads are open and traffic is flowing smoothly, your body feels organized and safe. When the roads are tight, congested, inflamed, and resistant, your body feels threatened, and belly fat interprets that as a very good reason to stay exactly where it is. Now here's where walking enters the picture in a way that most people completely miss. The reason walking works is not because it burns a massive number of calories. A 30-minute walk doesn't create a dramatic caloric deficit. You know that. Everyone knows that. But here's what almost nobody talks about. Walking, done in the right way at the right time, is one of the most powerful tools available for changing the signals your body is sending to belly fat. Not by forcing change, but by creating the internal conditions under which fat release becomes possible. It shifts the environment from one of tension and protection to one of calm, sustained demand.
And when the body reads that environment consistently, it begins to change how it allocates energy. That's the lever most people never find because they're too busy looking for intensity. When you take those first steps, something starts happening inside your body that you cannot feel, but that matters enormously. Your muscles send a quiet signal asking for slightly more oxygen, not urgently, just enough to let your body know that something has shifted. Your nervous system registers this and gently eases out of full rest mode. Your heart begins to beat just a little bit faster and a little bit stronger, not because you're stressed, but because it's responding to a manageable new demand. Blood flow increases, and as it does, the inner lining of your blood vessels, a thin but incredibly responsive layer called the endothelium, begins to sense that movement. That lining responds to increased flow by releasing a molecule called nitric oxide. You won't feel it. You won't notice anything different in those first 60 seconds, but internally, your blood vessels are beginning to relax and open, resistance is dropping, and circulation is becoming smoother. The pump is working more efficiently. And this is just the preparation phase. As you continue into the 3 to 10 minute range, the picture inside your body changes even more. Your breathing naturally deepens and becomes more rhythmic. Your inhales get slightly fuller. Your exhales become more complete. This might sound like a small thing, but that breathing pattern feeds directly back into your nervous system and begins to soften what scientists call sympathetic dominance, which is the state of alert that stress keeps most people locked in for the most of the day. Stress signals don't disappear, but they start to loosen their grip. Blood vessels continue to open. Your muscles begin taking up glucose more efficiently, which means your body doesn't need to pump out as much insulin to manage your blood sugar. And that matters enormously because insulin is one of the strongest chemicals telling belly fat to stay put. When insulin is constantly elevated, belly fat barely needs to think about releasing energy. When insulin settles and stays stable, the message starts to change. But here's something important to understand so you don't get discouraged early on. Even at this point, even though you feel warmer, calmer, and maybe even clearer in your head, belly fat has not started releasing in any meaningful way yet. This phase, as good as it feels, is still preparation. The locks are loosening, but the door hasn't opened. Your body is gathering evidence. It's asking a quiet question that sounds something like this. Is this movement real and sustained, or is it about to stop? Is the demand manageable or something threatening about to happen? Your body is cautious by design. It evolved to conserve energy, not give it away freely. So it waits, it watches, it needs enough time and enough repeated calm signaling before it decides to shift from protection mode into something more cooperative. And that shift, when it finally comes, is the moment everything changes. The transition usually happens somewhere between 10 and 30 minutes into a sustained, calm walk. The exact timing varies from person to person, depending on stress levels, sleep quality, hormonal patterns, and how regularly you've been moving. But when it happens, it's real and it's meaningful. The nervous system settles more completely. Cortisol, one of the most powerful stress hormones and one of the most direct signals keeping belly fat locked down, begins to trend downward in a more sustained way rather than just spiking and crashing. When cortisol drops and stays down, fat cells receive a message they've been waiting for. The threat is passing. The demand is controlled. Energy can move. Fatty acids begin leaving fat cells and entering circulation to fuel your ongoing movement. This is what fat release actually looks like from the inside. Not a dramatic event, a quiet permission, a subtle shift in fuel sourcing that doesn't show up on a scale or in a mirror, but that represents a genuine, important change in how your body is managing itself. This is the part that surprises most people the most when they first hear it. The first sign that belly fat is being released is not something you see, it's something you feel. And it doesn't feel like effort or soreness or heat radiating from your midsection. It feels like steadiness. It feels like your body is moving with you rather than against you. There's a sense of rhythm, of things working together, of not being in a fight with yourself. Some people describe it as feeling surprisingly energized rather than tired. Others notice that the mental noise that usually follows them around gets quieter. That experience, that particular quality of feeling regulated and organized and somehow lighter in a way that has nothing to do with weight, that is your body's signal that it has moved from defense into cooperation. and it's one of the most underrated feelings in the entire wellness world. The timing of your walks also matters more than most people realize, and this is where the strategy gets genuinely interesting. Walking after a meal is one of the most powerful windows for interrupting the signals that keep belly fat in storage mode. After you eat, blood sugar rises, insulin increases, and your body shifts into an organized storage state. From belly fat's perspective, energy has just arrived, resources are being sorted, and this is not the time to release anything. Sitting still after a meal reinforces that message completely. Insulin stays elevated longer, the storage signal stays dominant. But when you walk after eating, even at a gentle pace, your muscles begin using that circulating glucose directly. Blood sugar peaks become smoother and lower, insulin settles faster, and as the insulin signal quiets, one of the strongest guards